Hello, good people, and welcome to the second episode of Weezer Review, the show where we review Weezer, in case you didn't know already.
Yep. So today we are hitting in my opinion, the most interesting album on the whole array of Weezer albums, Pinkerton, which was originally released in September 24th, 1996, so way back when. Now this song was the successor to the Blue album, but originally the largest majority of people thought originally that Pinkerton was a inferior album overall, and was very much disliked by most critics overall because of the fact that the lyrics and the music was a lot more edgy, a lot more emotionally driven compared to Blue, where Blue was a lot more expressive and being okay with being oneself and just allowing you to live your own life, where Pinkerton was more about Rivers and his experiences with life and his sadnesses and his situations that have arisen because of the success of Blue and trying to best himself in a way. So, firstly, we're going to start off the Pinkerton album in order, like we always have, and always will, with Tired of Sex. Now, what is your opinion on this album's music overall, Malachi?
Alright, I'm coming at you with my point of view, which is normally not very, in-depth in the lyrics. Because I just like listening and hearing and this sounds nice. I like those drums. I like that. I don't even hear the lyrics. I just hear this voice sounds nice with this stuff. And that's pretty much how I was here because I just like it for the big booming drums and the shredding guitar. In a way, it's kind of like, it's really cathartic. Like when I'm annoyed or something, I just like listening to it. I'm like, hey, this drummer just pounding away at the drums is kind of like what I want to do right now because I'm kind of annoyed. Like if I go over late on a shift at work when I want to go home, that's just a song I like to listen to on the way home. It's nice.
Now, when you say that when like you're upset and you want to pound along with the drums, going a little bit one step back, one step forward, Pinkerton, one of its critical reviews was that Pinkerton is enjoyed a lot by people that are have yet to find their place in the world kind of area. Very edgy, very unbeknownst to them where they are at their place in time. So what they try to do is just fill their life with rock and roll and try to fill the voids that they don't know what should go there with what they can manage. And a lot of that time will go to rebellion and things like that, which is the standard teen ideal, which makes sense at the time and why a lot of people listen to this. Mm-hmm. Now, my opinion of the song is a little different, where, yes, I majorly enjoy Pinkerton as an album overall. Personally, it's one of my favorites. And Tired of Sex, the song, the track on the A side of this album, is no exception. It is a great song with a great medium-paced rhythm on top of the fact that it has an interesting set of lyrics that go along and has a story that goes along with the lyrics. Of course, we know this happens a lot when it comes to Rivers and Weezer overall as a whole. Tired of Sex is mostly a story about him after the success of Blue and going on tours, trying to settle and fill his desires on a physical level with an unhealthy ideal in a way, where if you listen to the song you can almost take it very literally of what he was thinking at the time, and he's wondering why he can't be happy even though he has everything he wants, or everything he thought he wanted. But overall, Tired of Sex is a very interesting, very happening song, I have to say. To jump off of that nice high beat from the very first song of Pinkerton. We have Get You, another very fast-paced, very energetic rhythm. Get You is a very quick song, and I compare it a lot of the time to other very upbeat, very fast, very hard-hitting, almost trying to tilt the line into a rock metal, almost, I would say. Um, and I compare it a lot with, for people that are familiar with the anime JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, in season 4 of JoJo, there is a intro song called Chase. Now, Chase is a very, very, very quick song, wouldn't you say? Very, very rock-esque, without a lot of guitar licks and shreds. Just heavy in the drums and then heavy in bass. And Get You is, I believe, a very close idea to the same style.
Yeah. Here I am coming in with my opinion again, because I pretty much feel the same way about this as I do about Tired of Sex. It's about the same. They're both nice cathartic songs to listen to because they pound your brain when you're annoyed, because you just kind of need to let it out sometimes. And it makes it easier to do that when you can yell along to the chorus, which is actually pretty catchy in my opinion. Just yelling, "Get You!" is really fun to do and can vent a lot of frustration. So, next up, we got a personal favorite of mine, No Other One. It's kind of a step down from Tired of Sex and Get You in tempo. Like, it's a lot slower and a little more calm. I think I know the meaning to this one, actually. Surprise, surprise. It seems to be about Rivers. He's got one girl in his life, the only one that he can count on. But the issue is she's a little crazy. And, I mean, heck, sometimes he doesn't even see her. And even then, he just goes with the flow because, I mean, she's the only one he's got. And sometimes that's all he can do. But aside from the meaning, I really enjoy the song just because it's a nice song to listen to. Not really much aside from that stands out. It's all right, but not as good as Get You or Tired of Sex.
You are very correct. A little off the mark, but very correct overall. Where No Other One is a more of a slow, sappier song about Rivers having no one else but this one girl to share his life with. And the idea of having somebody else to be there for you, and that once you have this one, you would not have any other one. Now, jumping off of this one, in a similar boat, but not quite the same, No Other One, heavily inspired by the idea of having someone. The one of a breakup is very different, but still related to relationships overall, correct? Well, our next song, Why Bother, is a very emotionally driven, harder hitting song from Rivers, mostly talking about why bother in a relationship if it's going to hurt, if it ends, or if it doesn't. Why bother? It's going to hurt me. Why bother when she'll desert me?
Mm-hmm.
Or it will hurt when she deserts me. Now, the idea of that is coming from a very glass half full of water kind of situation, where, or I should say a glass half empty, where you're taking a look from a relationship from the negative side. Why bother with it when it's going to be bad overall, even though there's going to be high points, but why bother with something if there's going to be lows?
Mm-hmm.
So, but other than that, I do enjoy the music very much. It has a very happening, very steady pace to it, some rocking drums, some standard roaring, I say roaring guitar riffs, but not too hard, but
Yeah.
you know they're there.
They're there, but they aren't as crazy as Tired of Sex and Get You, which I feel are probably the the hardest hitting songs in the album. but it gets there close, and that's why I can still enjoy it just like the rest of the songs. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say. It's just kind of an alright song, but I just kind of, it's like I'm coming off a high from the first two songs, and, they can't, they're kind of like my favorites, so I'm just going down a level. I just think the songs are alright. So that's all it is for me. Next, we got Across the Sea, another good song, and it actually it's another little soft song at the beginning, which I really like. It starts with a piano into it, and then it starts up with the story, which is, I don't know, I feel it's pretty straightforward since I could comprende, because it's about Rivers getting a letter from one of his fans, across the sea, and pretty much the whole song is about him fantasizing about what she's like and all that, even though he really doesn't know anything about her aside from what she's asking, and she's just like, well, I'm 18 from a small city, and then, all that, but that's all he knows. He doesn't know anything else about her, but he's just, I don't know, maybe he's just kind of lonely, because he just wants someone, and this person, he knows she likes him, so, hey, I really want to meet you, but I can't, because I'm so far away. And it really shows that, and when in its emotions, and I very much enjoy the song for it.
Once again, you are very much correct upon your ideas of the music. Across the Sea has, I would say, two main areas to talk about. It has the more literal sense of the story, where Rivers got a letter from a 18-year-old fan in Japan, and in response, Rivers had given the gift of a song to the fan, one that she had already heard, but basically makes out to be for her, and then in exchange, Rivers had gotten a letter from her, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the secondary connection you can make to Across the Sea is the idea of Rivers being alone and being sad, right? Like most of the earlier Weezer songs, if I'm not wrong, hopefully. But most of the Across the Sea track is filled with the idea of being alone and being sad because you can't be with someone, either physically or literally, or a relationship just doesn't work. And in this situation, it's a physical distance between people and cultures, and not being able to be with someone, thus having to settle with fantasizing and imagining what it would be like to be with someone. And to cut from the very definite point from Across the Sea, we have our next track, The Good Life, a very happy, very upbeat sounding, seeming song, however, is very interesting and very similar to other songs on the album of Pinkerton overall, once you get to the fact of the meaning and the lyrics of the song, where if you read into it, it is about Rivers not wanting to be alone and Rivers not wanting to be out of a group, basically. He doesn't want to be an old man anymore. He doesn't want to seem out from the group that he was once in when it comes to people listening to him. He doesn't want to seem like that old jaded boomer that's watching and trying to fit into a smaller, much younger group of peoples. What's your opinion on The Good Life?
Well, since I agree with you on the meaning, I'll just get to what I like about it, and that just being that it's the pretty happy sounding in comparison to everything else in the album, and real partying song, and that's what I like about it, because for a lot of it, it's kind of like really heavy, but this is feeling like a weight being lifted off of you sometimes, and it's really nice to just sing along to, and it's easy to memorize, and it's just a good song to listen to when you're feeling down, I think. Even though the meaning, if you dig deep into it, it's kind of sad, I just like listening to it on the surface to feel a little happier about everything.
Our next track, El Scorcho, is a major fan favorite. Whoops.
Whoops, what?
We forgot about the Good Life music video.
Oh, it's music video review time.
Music video time.
Oh, yeah.
So, the Good Life music video is an interesting one. It is very dated, it seems, if you watch it nowadays.
Yeah.
It feels like a 90s music video. Where the Good Life music video mostly stars a younger, probably early 20s female protagonist
Yeah.
working at a rundown pizza joint, trying to work on her life and deliver pizzas and make medium pay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And during the whole time, you'll have a couple of sections of the music video where the band cuts in and you can see into the recording studio where they're actually playing the music. And eventually, it ends with the protagonist getting so excited and so ready to be done with their day of work to finally deliver their last pizza in a hurry to the customer. And once the customer gives once she gives him his change, she just has him
Books
keep
it.
the change and books it. So you know,
I feel that so much.
it is just that the enjoyment of the end of the day, work for the happy Joe, or working Joe. Not
Yeah.
always happy, but
The working Joe Schmo.
and just finishing the day off.
Mhm.
That just feel of energy.
And I'm going to do my little highlight where I say my favorite part here. So my favorite part is when she's driving and looking up in the sky because there's a plane writing something in the sky. It's like Deliver Me, I think. I like to think it's asking, the pizza's asking to be delivered. But it's probably not. And since she's distracted, she stomps, a red light shows up, so she gets to stomp on the brakes and the pizza flies and gets messed up. But it happens whenever they start the chorus again, like, I don't want to be in it. And it's really nice, because I like it when it syncs up like that. It just makes it a little more comedic to me.
Yeah, it's always great when you see music videos actually working in the visuals to connect with whatever you're hearing in the audio at exact points in time. It's just very satisfying to see.
Mm-hmm.
And what we were about to get to,
the real good times.
what most people most enjoy about older Weezer songs, or at least what I've been told is a lot of people's favorites, El Scorcho, a seemingly punk rock ballad, pop rock, almost song, very heavily inspired by Weezer and by Rivers and his experiences as a person and in Weezer, and his wants and desires. Now, personally, I just enjoy El Scorcho, not because of the meanings behind it, but just because of the music itself. It's a nice listen. It's very cool. It's very calm, and it has that Weezer funk and that Weezer rock in it.
Heck yeah, welcome to my club.
Yeah.
The club of listening to music because it sounds nice.
Hey, that's what I do with most of the Pinkerton songs anyway, so.
Well, yeah. It's just this one kind of feels a little more so, because I bet there's something, but I don't really care, because I just like everything about it, especially the beginning. El Scorcho! Just at the very, very beginning. It's so much fun to go along with.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a weird song in a way, though, you know? Like, the guitar sounds a little off with its doom, doom, bow, wow. A little kind of weird in comparison to everything else on the album, you know?
Yeah, but that's just, like I said, that's Weezer funk. And Weezer has a track record of hitting some interesting chords and riffs on their guitars, and it adds that level of just Weezer into music.
It's nice to have a little change of pace, you know, and an album that kind of has the same feeling to it, just to kind of switch to happy, kind of pump you up music. You know? And that's how I feel about El Scorcho and The Good Life.
Yeah. That's for certain.
Mm-hmm.
Our next track is an interesting one. It's a story track of River's life overall, or at least a point in life of a story in his life. Pink Triangle is, in my opinion, a very interesting song and a very fun song. It is a song about Rivers meeting a girl and not knowing if she is a lesbian or if she's straight because of the fact she wears a pink triangle on her sleeve. And because of this, he is afraid to ask her out or try to get any closer. And because of this, it almost locks Rivers himself into a position where he doesn't want to move forward because he doesn't want to try to overstep boundaries that he doesn't know of. And because of that, he is too afraid to ever ask. However, in his own lyrics, he is questioning himself and questioning even if she is a lesbian and everyone is a little queer, can't she be a little straight? Meaning that even if she is a lesbian, can't she make some room for the right guy?
That seems a little wrong in a way, though, you know? But I mean, he just really wants to be with someone, I think, because that's kind of how it seems throughout the entire album. So maybe it's just part of that to be a little, you know, short-sighted about things.
Well, the idea of longing for someone and wanting someone, but feeling like you could never achieve a someone is a feeling a lot of people can get. And it's a feeling that can leave people into a strange way of mind and a way of thinking. And in their way, they're not completely wrong. It's just a little off to what most people would think. And turns out, I'm going to spoil the ending of the song.
Oh, what?
Or at least the meaning. I'm going to spoil the ending.
Skip ahead if you don't want to hear the spoiler to this 3-minute song. I mean, you could just listen to it, guys.
Well, the story. Turns out the girl was not a lesbian. She was just a supporter of the LGBTQ community.
What does pink triangle mean in that?
So, history lesson time. History lesson.
Segment.
So, a pink triangle was originally used for gay men and women that were Jewish during the Holocaust. When Jewish men and women that were gay were put into concentration camps, they had suits that had a pink triangle on their lapel, or almost on their chest of their outfit. And that is where the pink triangle comes from. And because of that, the LGBTQ community had accepted the pink triangle as a symbol of gay pride in their community a while back.
You'll learn something new every day, I guess.
Yep.
As for my take on this song, I feel like this is a part of the Chill trilogy. That being the Good Life, the trilogy of The Good Life, El Scorcho, and Pink Triangle, where the album kind of takes a little bit to just kind of dial it back a bit from the beginning. And you can definitely tell it in Pink Triangle, where one of the prominent instruments is a xylophone, which is actually pretty nice.
Yeah,
I like it.
It is a very different step that have been taken a couple of times, but very enjoyable nonetheless.
Next up, we got a banger, Falling For You, or Falling For You. This is where it kind of picks up again. Not as much as the ones from the beginning, but it definitely is trying. I don't really feel much about the verses and everything, or the meaning. I just really enjoy the chorus and its power, and how catchy it is and easy to sing along to. Sometimes that's just all I like about the song, is just waiting for the chorus to come.
That is a definite, and a lot of times when it comes to music, you just want to plug it in and play it just to enjoy it, not to dig into it. And I know that I would most probably get a lot of flack because I like digging into music, but you know, I like to dig into music and learn stories behind the music that of music that I enjoy, you know?
Yeah.
And it's almost like I feel like I'm taking a step deeper into the mind or the shoes of Rivers and the idea of making the song and where did it come from and what does it mean. And Falling for You is another great song from Pinkerton. It is about falling for a girl, you know,
Yeah.
as the name of the song would imply, and things that would go about that. And I think Falling for You is a good solid song. It's a song that you won't remember all the time, but you will find enjoyable whenever you listen to it just by chance. It's one of those songs that you have in your 100 song playlist when you hit shuffle and it just appears somewhere. You won't know where it is and you won't remember where it is, but you know when you hear it, you know what it is, and you'll enjoy it for the ride it gives you.
That's actually a really good description. I like that. All right. This is the last song and the calmest song on the entire album. This crazy ride we've been on, we end at Butterfly, which is pretty much as gentle as a butterfly, with there not really being much other than just kind of Rivers plucking away at acoustic guitars and singing really softly like this. And it's really nice and soothing to listen to.
Yeah. Butterfly is an interesting track on the album. It is the final track on the B-side of the album, and Butterfly is a fun song. It's not fun for the same reasons that The Good Life and El Scorcho are fun. It's fun because it's an enjoyable song just to finish off an album that has been so emotionally fueled and so invested emotionally into that it's wanting not to go out with a bang, but not to go out with a whimper either. It's wanting to just cruise off into the abyss almost. And it sounds kind of depressing and weird, but it's almost just enjoying the ride and finishing it as you started. And it's just nice. It's a nice flow, a nice, cool, soothing song to finish the album. And it feels like it sets the pace, or at least how the roller coaster of Pinkerton went. And it had its highs and its lows, but it finishes off nice and smooth, and you're ready to get on a new ride.
Well, now that we've made it through that, shake it up, get ready, because this is where we talk about our favorites, our worst, and give the final score. So, I'm going to let you choose. What do we start with?
So, I think, let's start with a high and then cruise off into a slow.
Kind of like the album, you know?
Exactly. So I would have to say my favorite track from the album overall would probably be Pink Triangle. I enjoy the rock riff it gets, but it's not a hard rock, it's just like a classic feel. It's just one of those songs that if you put it on, it's a mellow jam that you could listen to for hours if you wanted to and would never get upset at. And not only that, it has an interesting story that go along with it that you can have your mind gnaw over it for a couple of hours and still wonder.
Oh my gosh. Alright. Okay, I think I'm finally ready to say what my favorite song from Pinkerton is after years of thinking on the tops of the Himalayas with the Shaolin monks. I don't think that's how it works. Anyway,
It might be.
It might be.
They listen to Pinkerton up there.
I
think that's where Pinkerton came from, like the album cover.
Oh.
You know, like I think that gnome is actually just a Shaolin monk with like a pointy hat.
That would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I've become enlightened big brain, and I finally know what I want to do. And I'm going to have to say El Scorcho is my favorite song from Pinkerton. Pretty simply because of everything I said before, it being fun, it being weird in a good way, and just my favorite part, El Scorcho, the very beginning, just the little voice is very fun to do.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to least favorites, least favorites are a hard thing to do sometimes. And on certain albums, it is hard to pick a least favorite track. It's almost like trying to pick a favorite child. I know people say they don't have one, but you always have one. You just can't say it. And it's very similar into the situation where when Pinkerton, I do have a least favorite album, but it's my least favorite because I like everything else so much more. If it had just something else, it could boost it into the abyss with everything else, into the top 1000s. But I gotta say, I think my least favorite song from Pinkerton would have to be No Other One. Now, I say it's No Other One not because No Other One's a bad song or a bad track, but it's because it's not as good as its predecessors or its brothers or sisters. No Other One is a good song, and it has that Weezer touch, but it's just not there. If it had just a little bit more in it somewhere, maybe it would boost it into the greats with everyone else, but it's just missing that little spark, I think.
I can understand that, even though I really hate you for saying that. Alright, I'm gonna make Mark triggered.
Uh-oh.
Because I'm gonna have to say my least favorite is Pink Triangle.
Yeah, I can get it.
Yeah, it's pretty much for the same reasons you said. I like Pink Triangle, and it's alright, but I just like all the other songs a lot more because there's a lot of real bangers on this album. And not to say that Pink Triangle is not a banger, it just doesn't bang as hard. Okay, don't take that out of context.
Yeah.
That's about all I have to say,
Well, it makes
really.
sense.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Now we have come to the segment of the show.
Yes.
Where we are going to say a couple of quick words about why is this album important?
Whoa.
Or why do we like this album? What makes it nice? What makes it good? 3 for a curveball there, I know.
I know,
But-
I wasn't anticipating it. I was ready to score it already.
I'll start it. So Pinkerton is one of my favorite albums, I have to say, just flat out. Just because it is full of hard emotions, hard meanings, hard stories from Rivers himself. This is the predecessor to Blue, where Blue was about being yourself. Pink is about dealing with what it means to be yourself and what are the negatives and the flaws of being yourself and being true to yourself and what do you have to deal with. And Pinkerton sets out on that mission and solves it pretty good, pretty well, almost perfect, I'd say. And Pinkerton overall, I just really enjoy it. Being one of my favorite Weezer albums, it's great. Hence the reason why I have a vinyl copy of Pinkerton. It doesn't mean that I don't have vinyl copies of the other albums, but hence the reason why I had Pinkerton first. And I know a lot of people out there always debate over what is better, Blue or Pinkerton, and even we have different opinions on that. I think Pinkerton's better, he thinks Blue is better. And we're not part of the group that'll shout it over the hills saying what is best for others to listen to, but we have our opinions and we think certain ones are better than others, and we think they're important for different reasons.
I guess I can say this album is important because, I mean, it really doesn't have anything, because Mark pretty much covered out all the reasons it's important then, but nowadays it's kind of important being the album that kind of changed up how it was all going to go from here on out, because ever since it kind of just commercially flopped back in the day, they kind of started changing up their sound since then, and we've been getting a bunch of different interesting albums because of it. So sure, it's had its negative effects, but I believe that it's also had positive effects on Weezer altogether as well. And I'm pretty much the same way. I like Blue better than Pinkerton, but it doesn't mean I hate Pinkerton. I pretty much think they're on the same level. It's just like the tiniest centimeter of difference. Pinkerton is really, really good. And I would recommend it to anyone who likes rock at all.
Now, it is your favorite segment of the show. Woo! It's going to be where we give our ratings of the albums. Now, would you like to start or shall I?
I guess I'll start. So, since I've already said everything I've said about how I like it and all that, and it's almost as good as Blue, I'm gonna give it a 9 dwarf people in the Pinkerton album. I don't know what we're gonna call them, but we're gonna call them the Shaolin Dwarves. Out of 10. 9 out of 10.
Well, I'm gonna have to one-up you just a little bit. It isn't a perfect 10, but it's the closest I've ever seen, or one of the closest. So I have to give it a 9.5. And I suppose we'll meet in the middle like we always do with a 9.25 out of 10.
You hear that, boys? 9.25 Shaolin Dwarves out of 10. I think that is a satisfactory conclusion.
It's a rockin' Weezer album with some rockin' riffs, some hard beats, and an enjoyable time for anyone that takes the time out of their day to listen to. Mm-hmm. And I think if anyone will enjoy it, or at least put in the time to try to, they will not be disappointed.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that's all we got for this episode. You better meet us next time when we review Green Album.
It'll be a lot easier than this one, but not by much. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.